All right. Next presentation is Koha Has Your Back. So this is presented by Kalnins, and I'll get you started here.
Okay, great. All right. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you to the organizers and to the other presenters also for being here, and thank you for accepting my program. So, Koha Has Your Back. The title really came and was inspired by the importance of backing up and backing up, and we all know as librarians and working in the information field, the importance of backing up our, not just our files, but other, just our information and our information systems, and making sure that backup is a critical part and plays a critical part in our information technology ecosystems. So that is where the title comes from. My name is Kalnins, and I am from the W.E. Upjohn Institute in Michigan. So I don't know, I thought there was someone else from Michigan when I came in. He was at the desk, but in any case, is there anybody else here from Michigan? School. Okay.
Michigan native.
All right.
Okay.
All right, very good. Well, welcome to all from wherever you're from. And again, I hope that this is going to be a great conference for all of us to get to know each other and to learn from each other. Okay, so let's get started. So while we're waiting for this, for the slides to come up, as part of my introduction, and as part of the whole point of this presentation, is to think about Koha in a non-traditional way. So traditionally, Koha is a catalog. So it's a resource for folks, for us as staff members, and also for the public. The public side is the OPAC. And to find items in our library or items that folks can check out. However, Koha can also be used in a non-traditional way. And one of those ways is as a backup tool. As an example, what is this? Right. Okay, and what are newspapers generally newspapers used for or used as? Yeah. Does anybody have any other ideas about how a newspaper can be used? Yeah.
I need to do some spray painting in there. There's no newspapers in the house to put down.
Okay, so they can be used sort of as a drop cloth. Yeah, in home improvement projects. Great idea. Thank you so much for participating. Any other way that you can use a newspaper?
I just went back to Michigan, and on my vacation, I researched. My husband and I have never been able to agree on the date of our first date, and so I thought, we went to see a movie, and they changed the movie. They canceled what it was because it had an R rating, and I bet if I can find that ad, I can nail down our first date. So got out the microfilm and found the ad, and darn it proved him right, not me. But
All right. Well, that's great. Yes, exactly. As sort of a historical resource. Okay. Great. Anybody else? Yeah.
morning ritual.
Okay. Morning ritual. Yeah.
Flash water.
Okay. Flash water. Great. Well, thank you. Yeah. One more.
I burn them to start the charcoal with the drill.
Okay. Great. Okay. Very good. Well, great. Well, thank you all so much for participating. I appreciate that. So that is the point of this presentation, to think of Koha in a non-traditional way as a backup tool in your already existing technology infrastructure. So let's go over the agenda. I have an agenda for our time together today. So first of all, the introduction. Then we'll talk about the institutional repository in terms of backing up the institutional repository, then the archives. Then I will address any kind of questions that you all have, and then finally the conclusions. All right. Okay. And I have some goals for us today, for our time together. And then, yeah, so first of all, to learn why koha can be used as a backup tool and how it can be used, to understand how it actually works, how that functionality can be put into practice. And then the last thing, that is what you will actually do if you're interested and if you feel like it's relevant, will be to apply this session or some of the things that we talk about in this session today back at your home libraries. Does that make sense? Okay. Does anybody have any questions before we go on? Okay. All right. Very good. Let's move on then. Okay. All right. So the first way that we can use, or the way that we use in the Upjohn Institute, we use koha as a backup tool, is with our institutional repository. Who here in the audience, if you feel comfortable saying, has an institutional repository at your home library or your home? Okay, you have an institutional repository. Okay, anybody else? Okay, all right. Well, at the Upjohn Institute, we have an institutional repository, and quite frankly, it's always on. And we need it to be always on. We need it to be accessible. We need people to be able to get to our research whenever they need to, whenever they want to. And again, our repository is the showcase of what we do at the Upjohn Institute. Because we study, we do research, and we publish research, the researchers do. It's the institutional repository is really it is our public face, and it's the showcase for all of the work that not all of the work, but a lot of the work that the Institute does. So, and we also have, our work is primarily open access. So the bottom line is the institutional repository is important. We need it to be always on. And we need to have we call them products. We need to have the products available and accessible for folks to download. Now, so because of that, we have all kinds of things in place as part of our technology infrastructure. But one piece of that puzzle is koha. And we use koha, we create records, and then we attach files to the actual MARC record so that we have a backup of that product, of that research product in the catalog. And it's just one part of our backup plan, but it is a very important part of the plan. So does anyone have any questions about that? Okay, all right. Now, we had one person volunteered and said that they have an institutional repository. I don't know what your backup, or what your technology ecosystem looks like at your home library or home institution, but if you were to consider using koha as part of your backup plan, you would have to take some things into account. First of all, you'd have to make some decisions about whether or not you wanted to implement something like this. And it may not be necessarily, since there was only one person, you may not have an institutional repository, but maybe you have something else that you would want to back up. So think about what else you might need, what might need backing up, and make some decisions about that, if koha could be a relevant player. And then if you do decide to move forward, you would have to implement some policies in terms of that. And then finally, workflows. And workflows are really where you would decide how you would add the files, when you would add the files to the MARC records, and so on. Any questions? All right. Okay. Now, this is the how-to portion of the presentation. So you have now gone through all of your considerations. You've decided you are going to use koha as part of your backup plan to back up. Again, it may not be your institutional repository, maybe it's something else. But now this is the time you are ready to move forward. So the first thing you have to do is to go through and verify your settings. Now, I'm not going to go through each and every step, but I will refer you to the references at the back of the presentation. I referenced the koha manual. And again, the manual will change with subsequent updates. So you will simply have to go to the latest manual or whichever version of koha you have currently now in your library or home institution. There is a section in the cataloging part of the manual that will walk you through step by step what you need to do. There's also a Monday Minutes about this, about how to attach a file to MARC records. All right, okay, so going back to the how-to portion. So again, I'm not going to go through step by step, but the first thing you have to do, if you decide that you are going to use koha in your backup ecosystem, is to verify your settings. And that's either whether you do your own system admin or you have a vendor do your system admin. You want to go through and make sure all those settings are in place. The next thing you'll want to go ahead and do is verify that you've got the plugin installed. Make sure that everything is there. And then the next thing, then what you want to do is use, instead of, if you're using, you generally use the advanced editor, you're going to have to use the basic editor. And that's, does everyone know what I'm talking about when I say the basic and the advanced? Okay, all right, very good. Just wanted to make sure. So you're gonna want to use the basic editor, and then you'll add the file in the 856 field. A couple of screenshots. This is the plugin. And then this is the, well, you can't, but this is, you should have a link to actually upload the file. If everything is in place, you should get that link. And then from there, it will simply run you through a series of prompts and you'll be able to attach the file. Now, I checked with Bywater before this presentation about file sizes, types of files, and so on. They said there were no limits. However, I have not run through and tried to attach every single type of file there is. I've not tried various file sizes and so on. So, because of that, I just want to add that caveat, make sure you all know that you'll just, if you have issues with certain files, you'll just need to reach out to whoever does your technical support. Does that make sense? Okay, all right, very good. All right. So that is the how-to portion of that. And now the second use case for this backing up, I wanted to talk about the archives a little bit. Who has an archives at their home institution or library? Okay, you have an archives. Yeah, we also have an archive at the Upjohn Institute. And it's private, but it truly is a treasure trove of information about the Institute, the history of the Institute, and so on. And we have both physical and digital items in the archive, but the archive is a very important part of our Department of Information Services. So koha also plays a role there. We use koha to, again, back up items, obviously, that have either been born digital or that have been digitized. And it plays a very important role for us in creating sort of a safety net for those items. And again, it's just something to think about. Even if you don't have an archive, maybe you have something else at your home institution or library that you want to save or back up. All right. And again, as you're thinking about what it is that you would like to use koha, what other non-traditional use that you could put, that you could bring koha in and that would serve your needs. Again, take into consideration, you'll have to make some decisions about that. You'll have to create policies and then also workflows. Okay, now, does anyone have any other questions? Yeah.
What was the specific name of the plugin again?
The plugin, the name, let's go back here. Let me go back. It was, wait a minute. It was. Okay. It was upload.pl. Yeah.
And so what in file formats are you actively backing up in your koha?
Well, in our koha, we generally just back up PDF formats, PDF files. Yeah, thank you. What about the folks online? Any questions?
I'm not seeing any questions online right there, no.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
I will just say, just because I'm worried about speed and, performance, check as you're uploading lots of images. If you do upload images or documents, make sure you communicate with whoever your provider is, or if you're self-hosting, make sure you just look into it, because the more documents or PDFs or images that you put down, it could potentially slow down your system. So if you notice that, just make sure to communicate that information, because you want to be as fast as possible.
Yeah, I was gonna ask then, do you all have any other tips? And yeah.
A lot of times we'll see tickets come in where people will say, oh, I want to upload images or documents, to our work records in the system. And we just make sure to communicate how many records or how many files. That way we can build the server large enough to handle the requests to keep the indexer moving efficiently. So just communication.
And while you've got the mic, I've got actually a question for you. Is there a way to batch upload files? Is there a way to match
No.
files to records with big wheel numbers or something like that? Okay.
I don't think from the staff interface there is. We can probably do it from the back end, but Kelly's already typing into Bugzilla right now to see if somebody has submitted a request.
Okay.
Yeah, not on the staff side, but good enhancement requests that maybe we'll file an answer.
Well, yeah, I'm just if there was some sort of if somebody had some sort of a project, some sort of a large project and they wanted to, yeah. Does anybody else have questions for the Firewater team? Thank you so much I appreciate that.
I'll be in spirit here, and you're gonna gotten them.
All right, any other questions, comments? All right, well, I guess we'll start the coffee break early unless somebody else has,
But there's something came up on my mind first.
okay, very good.
Oh, never mind, it's more of a technical issue.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. It's fine, yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you.